USC women basketball.
Welcome to the latest episode of Trojans Wired, the podcast, which is an in-house production of the website Trojans Wire. We are part of the College Wire Network. Back at you with USC women's basketball analyst CC Clay of the USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. And so we turn to Oregon, and a quick turnaround. Saturday night, UCLA, and then a Tuesday game at Galen against Oregon. So CC, overview of what you're expecting from Oregon. You've done your notes, your research on Kelly Graves' team, and a reminder that Kelly Graves had Oregon in position to win the national championship, but then of course the COVID pandemic canceled the 2020 NCAA tournament. Sabrina Ionescu ready to make a run at the ring, and Oregon was in a great position, and it's been a struggle for Kelly Graves since that denial of Oregon's really big opportunity. Last year was a really rough ride for him, but Oregon's better this year. But the question is, how much better?
Yeah, so when you look at Oregon, the record's 13-3, and the three losses that they have are against good teams. Stanford, UCLA beat them by 20, and then they lost to Michigan, which was a close game. That was their most recent game. What strikes me about Oregon is when you look at the matchup, they're similar to USC. They are guard driven and they're skill heavy. They like to play fast. Their front court is not that good. And looking at my notes, they like to go downhill. They like to shoot twos and attack the gaps and then complement it with threes. So that's their offense in a nutshell. Their strengths are spacing and passing. They pass the ball really well. They have really good guards in Katie Fiso, Mia Jacobs, and Sophia Bell. Those are the three guards that are the most efficient. And like I said, their paint defense is soft because their front court is not that good. So it's going to be interesting to see how this, transpires with, exactly the same type of matchup.
We've talked about USC being a matchup dependent team, and UCLA was a particularly difficult matchup with all that size and power and length. So the initial read, CC, seems to be this is a much more manageable matchup for USC. So obviously, I would assume you're thinking that, hey, like this is a game where Jazzy and Kennedy can get to the rack, get fouled, stack up some free throws. That's something USC didn't do very well against UCLA, that this is a game where USC's guards can get into the paint, finish plays, and draw a lot of fouls near the rim.
Yeah, with this game, I'd like to see our guards attack the rim relentlessly because their front court fouls a lot. You know what I mean? They're not good defensively. So this is a game where we have to attack the basket. We have to win at the rim. Oregon does a good job when they're on offense of attacking downhill and they shoot in the paint or the mid range. Their 3-point shooting is a respectable 34%, but that's secondary to them. So they'll either do kickouts or stuff like that. But yeah, USC on offense, this is a game where we have to attack.
And related to the need to attack is the other important need for this team to rebound. And USC was able to take advantage of a smaller Nebraska team a week ago, was able to really clean up on the glass. But of course, going up against the size of UCLA, not able to do that. So now, again, the pendulum swings back to the kind of matchup against which, on paper, you'd think USC should be able to post a good rebounding performance, not give away extra possessions on the glass, and change the free throw disparity, which has been cutting against USC in a number of recent games.
Yeah, their rebounding. I'm talking about Oregon right now. Their rebounding margin is average. So this should be a game where we should be able to out rebound them. Now, it's interesting because UCLA beat Oregon by 20 and UCLA beat us by 30, and I think that's just because we kind of fell apart in the second half. I think you'll see USC bounce back, and if they follow the scout is attack downhill and take it in the paint because their front court is weak defensively.
All right, so what are you looking for from the supporting cast in this game? Because like the game plan for Kennedy and Jazzy pretty clear. Attack, 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 get into the paint, get in the glass. You're not going up against Lauren Betts. You're not having to finish over size. That seems pretty clear. How about the supporting cast? Any players you have an eye on for USC going into this game?
Just everybody. You know what I mean? I want to see everybody bounce back. I want to see the front court out rebound Oregon. I want to see the front court not be afraid to shoot the ball when they're at the rim. Offensive rebounding is going to be key in this game. Second chance points are going to be key. Everything that we didn't do in the UCLA game, I want to see us bounce back. Second chance points, we were terrible in the UCLA game, so I want to see us bounce back and get some second chance points. Um, Oregon, they like to get out on transition. They average 12.8 steals a game, so we have to protect the ball. And so that's the other key to here too is since they average almost 13 steals a game, can we protect the ball against them and can we stop them from turning us over?
How about the matchup from Oregon that you're most concerned about? The matchup that, if USC doesn't lock it down, look at, play according to the scout, that this game could go in the wrong direction. Obviously, we're hoping and expecting that it won't. But what do you think has to be USC's matchup concern going in this game, the biggest one?
Just Katie Fiso. Their guards, like those three guards that I mentioned, Katie Fiso, Sophia Bell, and who's the other one I mentioned? Mia Jacobs. Those are their three strongest players. If we don't stop them on the perimeter, if we don't stop them from running through the gaps or playing the gaps and getting downhill, it's gonna come back to haunt us.
Now, you mentioned Oregon has kind of some similar stylings to USC, that this is really not a matchup of contrast, it's a matchup of similarities. So when you establish that point, CC, how about pace and tempo in this game? Like where does USC want this game to be? How does USC want to play this game? Is it a case, CC, where all right, if these teams play similar styles, you just say, well, our A game is better than your A game. Let's just simply establish our template, or is there any need to kind of throw Oregon out of what it likes to do to get the Ducks off balance in some fundamental way?
Yeah, Oregon likes to get up and down the court. That's they like to play transition ball, so we need to slow them down. And the key is, getting up and down the court. That's when their guards thrive, right? Because that's when they can hit the open gaps and attack. So we need to slow down the pace a little bit on their end and get them in a set up offense and try and stop them that way.
One thing in sports, as I just been following sports for a long time, as you have too, like we've all followed sports for a long time, but one thing that kind of gives me a little confidence is just that when you go up against a really, really difficult opponent, the next opponent's just even, this is not meant as disrespect to Oregon. It's just that after playing UCLA, playing Oregon just might feel so much easier, not in terms of Oregon is easy, but just UCLA presented so many problems at so many places in so many ways. And USC just might be able to breathe, not because it's Oregon specifically, but just because it's a team that, can't match UCLA, which is most teams. So again, this is like not Oregon specific, if any Oregon fans are watching. How much do you think that might really help unlock some of the talent, some of the potential for USC in this game? Just having that UCLA game as a teaching tool, you're going up against the most difficult possible matchup as a team and also individual players. You got to think that facing Oregon is just going to allow this team more space, more freedom, and more of a sense that it'll be able to do what it needs to.
You would think, but I would imagine other teams in the Big Ten are confident when they play against USC because USC is not the same USC that it has been. And USC really has a playbook, an open playbook on how to beat them. So, teams that scout USC know what they have to do. And teams like Oregon, that can be a catch game if you come in and you're not locked in on what you're supposed to do with the scout as far as USC is concerned. Or, Kelly Graves is a pretty good coach, and he knows how to win. He likes to win. He won at Gonzaga. He's built some good teams at Oregon. Last year was a down year. This year, you're right, it's a better team, and you can believe that he's telling his team, we can go in there and beat USC. And so I think that USC, although UCLA was, you know, the giant, the Goliath, right? I think that USC is still concerned that they can be beat by any team in this conference because of the playbook that USC has.
Let's step back and think of things on a general level. We mentioned in the UCLA review show, CC, that, although USC took a pounding, like USC's lost 3 games to the top 4 in the United States. Like they've played the very, very best teams. It's not as though they're losing to,
Well, except for Notre Dame.
yeah, Notre Dame isn't chopped liver either. But like USC's not losing to a 7th place team in a power conference. These are all high end losses. Notre Dame being at the lower end, but that's still a pretty good loss just in terms of the caliber of opponent USC is facing. And yet, CC, we've also talked about the ways in which the front court and some of the supporting cast on this team haven't yet embraced certain parts of basketball IQ and just reading the game. And we're in January, so Lindsey Gottlieb can say, "Hey, we've taken it on the chin, folks, but we've gone up against the very best in the sport. Like, don't get down on that. Just learn from the experience." But then there's the other side of, hey, it's January, folks. We need to be better at these things. So like there could be a good cop message or a bad cop message, which like how do you juggle those points of emphasis? You can spin it positively, you can spin it negatively. Both can be sources of motivation to get this team to be better, to be sharper in the specific areas where it needs to be. What do you think the proper way to balance that is 2 months into the season with still a lot of season left?
Well, I take it back to the post game press conference. When Lindsey Gottlieb said, "Hey, we got our ass taken." Really, she said it in other words, but that's basically what she said. But she also clearly stated that she was upset that they're against these elite teams. They're not playing to the level that she believes that they can play. Like against the elite teams, they just kind of fall back instead of playing up to the level of these elite teams where she thinks that they can be. So I think that as a coach, you motivate them to say, hey, you are better than what you played against UCLA, and you all know that. But again, I think, each player has to look at themselves in the mirror and say, what can I have do better? I mean, a coach can only motivate you so much. You have to find that motivation within yourself, and you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, hey, I know I did this, and I know I have to contribute in X, Y, and Z way, and I'm going to make it a point to do that to help this team play on the elite level that I know that they can.
All right. So in terms of that general point of focus, what can USC do better? Let's go to some statistical benchmarks, elements of the analytics, things that you're really looking for in terms of USC targets in this upcoming game against Oregon.
Again, rebounds. They have to be able to they should be able to out rebound Oregon. I mean, Oregon's front court is not that good, and they should be able to out rebound them. I want to see USC play through contact. So if they do get the ball inside, play through the contact. Don't back up off the ball and shoot going away. Play into the contact. I want to see them not let Oregon get 13 steals a game. Let's limit Oregon to maybe 7, 8 steals a game. And I want to see us hit some 3-pointers. I just want to see some more efficiency. Those aren't really percentage analytics, but those are analytics where I think it counts. We have to hit shots. In the UCLA, we didn't hit shots, and in order to be able to attack, we have to be able to hit the mid range or the 3-point bucket to open up the inside for us.
Hey, any kind of numerical insight is welcome here, of course. And you can go so many different avenues, and there are so many different games, different situations, different matchups. Any numbers can have relevance for USC. I'm going to give my numerical benchmark. I want to see Jazzy Davidson get 10 free throws in this game. I think that, attacking, getting to the line, and, like she hasn't been shooting at a high percentage from the field. So when that happens, get to the line. That's how you get cheap points. That's how you can kind of impose your will on the opponent. I'm looking for Jazzy Davidson to get 10 free throws. Like if, and Juju, when Juju shot double-digit free throws, USC very, very rarely lost. And I'd like to see Jazzy become that kind of player who's getting to the free throw line, double-digit numbers per game. I think that's a really good forward path for USC this season.
On
So,
this point, I really have to disagree with you on this one because I just
okay.
don't believe Jazzy is, that type of player that we compare to Juju, where Juju is more physical in getting to the basket and creating contact, where Jazzy is just more of a smooth operator. She's going to take her picks where she goes inside, and if she gets fouled, she gets fouled. On the other side of the spectrum, the person that I would like to see get to the free throw line more is Kennedy. Kennedy is that physical person. Kennedy can drive and attack and not be afraid of physical contact. So that's where I see the difference in, somebody getting the ball to the bucket. And even Cara Dunn. Cara Dunn can attack because she's big and physical, whereas Jazzy's just more of a smooth operator. So it would be nice to see her get to the basket or see her get to the free throw line, but that's just not her game right now.
Fair point. All right. Anything else you have on this game? USC against Oregon at the Galen Center.
Um, Let me see. Just like I said, they gotta get Oregon in the half court and then be really physical with them in the half court because Oregon doesn't like physicality like most teams don't. So I think USC will thrive if they get them in a half court game and be physical with them on defense, and then that way we can get some steals and get some points off turnovers on the other end. But yeah, I said, I just want to see our front court bounce back. They should be able to have their way with this front court. Now, then again, like I said, Kelly Graves is talking his team up. He's saying that USC is not a very good team and we can go in there and beat them. Look, we UCLA only beat us by 20. They beat USC by 30. So that gives us the advantage. So I could see Oregon coming in very confident and playing to a level that they haven't played before. And so USC is going to have to shut that down quickly.
So you said USC needs to be physical, especially in the front court. So maybe this is a Gerda game. She was able to physically hold up well against Nebraska. So similar matchup against Oregon, at least in terms of the lack of a big oak tree, in the middle for UCLA. So maybe this is a matchup where Gerda can be physically assertive, hold her own on the glass, give USC some solid minutes in the front court.
Yeah.
All right, Cece, tell us what you have going on at your USC Women's Basketball Media Lab, your Substack, and your other media involvements.
Yeah, I do, like I said, have a story coming out on USC Women's Basketball Media Lab. Look for that shortly. Film breakdown, I haven't done it yet. I'm just debating whether I want to do the UCLA film breakdown or I want to wait and see what Oregon does, and maybe I'll do a combined film breakdown of both just to get some film breakdowns for everybody to see. And that's about all I got going on right now. I'm working on some podcasts, but I'm waiting for confirmations. So there you have it.
All right, folks, we'll be with you after the Oregon game for a post-game show and a reaction with USC women's basketball analyst Cece Clay. For Cece, this is Matt. Thanks for watching and listening to another edition of Trojans Wired.
Right on.